Hi everyone, I just wanted to take a look at our information about scaffolding. So let's just get started with this PowerPoint here. So this term may be brand new to some of you. It may be an old term for many of you. But I want to talk a little bit about what scaffolding means in regards to ESOL bilingual education. So as we know, scaffolding is giving our students the supports they need to learn our content area and learn our language instruction. So we're going to have many goals and standards, learning targets, objectives for each lesson. We can't just throw that at students, as we know. We have to give them some support along the way so that they can learn to fly on their own. So with that, as we know, it's an instructional technique where there's a lot of teacher modeling of the learning strategy or the task, and then we gradually shift that responsibility to students. The goal is that we provide instruction just beyond what the students, sorry, I was trying to grab a tool, but I don't know if it's going to work for me, just beyond what the students can do on their own. So we want to make sure we are giving them, starting at their level and then taking them a notch up. So the scaffolds we would provide would be a lot of modeling, a lot of visual scaffolding, sheltered instruction, and then moving into partner work, group work. All of those pieces would provide then the students the structure and supports they need to work independently. So again, it's about helping the learner through their specific zone of proximal development. Again, just another little visual. Looking at bike riding, they can't ride the bike. They ride the bike with guidance, whether it's training wheels or parents riding alongside, and then a child can ride a bike on their own. It's the same thing. We're getting ready, then show me how to do it, help me a little bit, and this help me do it part is where the group work and the partner work comes in and can be so rich. And then we move into let me do it by myself, and then I can explain what I've learned. So again, this scaffolding in the ESOL bilingual context should happen both in the content area and the language instruction. So we're scaffolding the science concept of the phases of the moon, but then we're also scaffolding the language concept of sequencing as we teach students to sequence the phases of the moon. So we keep saying support and structure, so that students can learn new information and then complete tasks and learn information successfully on their own. So you'll oftentimes hear that I do, we do, you do. So first I do it and model it, then we do it together, then you do it on your own, and that's where the students have the biggest and most capacity. So let's talk about how to scaffold your lesson. Let's just go right back here. So what are you teaching? Again, we'd be looking at, for instance, we're comparing fractions, we're writing a letter, we're teaching phases of the moon. You would model that concept thoroughly with anchor charts, graphic organizers, manipulatives, visual scaffolding. You would repeat that several times and then make sure that is evident in, this says before lesson, that's an old term, so I need to change that. You want to make sure that's evident in any stage of lesson planning that you're doing. And so then students would practice that same concept that you just taught in a different variation. So maybe they practice what you just taught them with a partner or in a small group. And then you would use various strategies such as think, pair, share, inside-outside circle, etc. To make sure the students gain that concept. So in an ESOL bilingual classroom, this grouping would need to be really purposeful. We need to think about who are we partnering our students with for academic purposes and for language learning purposes. So if I'm teaching phases of the moon and sequencing, who can help each student to gain that information to the best of their ability, both about the phases of the moon and about sequencing. And then know that this scaffolding is kind of a nice dance while you're teaching. For instance, you can teach and model for 3 minutes and then have students partner share for a little bit and then go back to more teaching and modeling and back to more partner share group work. Again, I know this concept for some of you is review, but for some people this concept is brand new. So please bear with me as I continue to explain. So the last part of scaffolding in your lesson would be then the students can now perform these same tasks and concepts independently in their own assignment. Could be a short assignment, it actually could be a long assignment, could be a performance assessment type of assignment, but it would just take that same concept all the way through, and now students can fly on their own, both with the content area and the language teaching. So now they know how to sequence. They have appropriate sequencing words, and they can use that while discussing your content area, which is phases of the moon. Again, the sheltered concepts would be used over and over here, so lots of visuals, vocabulary word walls, graphic organizers, hands-on experiences with realia, and manipulatives. So I hope that gives you just a quick idea of how that looks for your lesson planning. And again, please reach out if you have any questions about how to implement scaffolding in your classroom or in your lesson planning. Back up here I have some lesson examples of a math lesson and a butterfly lesson. The butterfly lesson is nice to start with because it's kinder, and so it's pretty straightforward and easy to see where that scaffolding happens in the lesson. And so you can take a look at this lesson here and you will see the scaffolding take place throughout this procedure section, where you will see the teacher teaching the concept about the butterflies, and then alongside that also teaching sequencing words by modeling sentence frames, teaching key vocabulary for sequencing words, and then it moves from that teaching section into the group work of the same concepts, where now they're doing the life cycle of the butterfly, still using sentence frames because that's encouraging them to use the sequencing words, and then moving into that independent practice and a closure. So again, as you read through this lesson in more detail, I don't want to read it for you. I just wanted to point out, especially those highlighted sections will help you to see where that scaffolding is taking place specifically for content and for language. So our goal is to incorporate both in every lesson. All right, as I noted, please do reach out if you have more questions. I'm happy to clarify, have a Zoom meeting if you have more questions about how to make this happen.